Welcome back. I'm Paul. This is Xsoil. Today we are working on establishing a garden, and what I had was about, I don't know, a little over 1,000 square feet here where I had some big oak trees, and I had a couple of them stumped, and there's no grass here. And I said, you know, with this virus going around, it would really benefit us to have a garden again this year. I didn't garden last year due to space, and now I have the space and an even better reason to do it. So here we are. What we have is we have a compost pile over here. Oh, almost forgot. There we have a huge pile of shredded oak limbs and a very large garden here. Behind me I have a few rows already ready to go, and I'm tilling it up, just tilling the rows, not the walk paths in between the rows. And I'm working in some of this homemade compost and tilling it in. What we're going to do with these wood chips is we're going to wet cardboard and place it in these rows and put these wood chips on top, and that's going to be our weed suppression this year. And once I get the plants in the ground, we're also going to put wood chips in the rows and kind of use it as mulch, just for water retention and weed suppression. So hang on and watch me put this garden together. Here we have the homemade compost from January. It's not broken down really good, but there's a lot of black, and I know there's some good microbial activity with a lot of beneficial bacteria and fungi. So we're going to add this in to each row and till it in, get some organic matter. I have found a lot of earthworms in here so far. Really good looking stuff. If you remember my video on how to hot compost in winter, I talked about using this compost in the yard. I believe it'll be better suited here in the garden. The compost consisted of a lot of leaves from hardwood trees, kitchen scraps, dead grass clippings. They were already brown. There were some pine needles in there from the yard. There was a lot of coffee grounds. What else? Chicken manure. I had six 6-gallon buckets of chicken manure, and I believe that was it. We turned it every 4 to 7 days, added water. We got that nitrogen cooking off and heated that pile up, and what it does is it kills all the pathogens and seeds and everything else. And what creates the heat is the bacteria feeding off that nitrogen, and we call it cooking the pile. So when it's cooking the pile, it's breaking that material down, and it's loaded with microbiology and microbes. The earthworms and other bugs move in. It's just a great habitat for all of them, so that you can add it to your soil and improve your soil that way. There's carbon, microbiology, all kinds of nutrients, micronutrients, you name it, it's in there. We now have the organic matter and the compost tilled into the row. I raked it in to basically mound it up a little bit, and the next step in the garden, once we finish these rows, is to add our weed suppressant. and that's going to be matted cardboard, wet cardboard laid down in between the rows and covered in our oak wood chips that came from the limbs of the trees that used to sit here. We're also going to use these oak chips as a mulch on top of the rows once the plants are in the ground. I've got everything but the cucumber mounds ready to go. So I've been back here. I've instructed the wife and the kids to pull out all the old cardboard I had stacked up in the garage, and we're gonna pull the tape off of it and the labels and just leave the cardboard. And what we're gonna do is just open it up, one ply, wet it down both sides, and we're gonna put it in the walkways of our garden. Hang on, let's get some footage of the girls over here. I'm tripping over stuff. All right, so cardboard is laid. Next is wood chips. All right, everybody, it's been a long day, but the garden is almost completely prepped for planting, which planting will not happen for at least 2 weeks, maybe 3. Looking back here behind me, you can see I put a hurting on these wood chips. Stupid gimbal. There's my compost pile, what's left of it. Looks like I've used about 3/4 of it. And what I wanted to show you was, I can get it right. So this row right here is a really wide row. We're going to do companion planting, which are garden plants that benefit each other when planted together. For example, I'm going to plant tomatoes, peppers, marigolds, and basil. The second row I think is a squash row. The third row is going to be bush beans. Let me see if I can get it for you. This over here is going to be the tomatoes, peppers. The next row over is squash, bush beans, okra, and then we're going to have some carrots and some hot peppers, I think. Maybe some onion, I'm not sure. And then the mounds over here are going to be cucumbers. I have not put any weed suppression in there yet, and stupid gimbal. And the reason is I ran out of boxes that I lined these rows with and put wood chips on top of. I do have stacks and stacks of newspapers from when we were going to move. I bought a bunch of them for packing material and never used them, but now I use them to light my charcoal grill. Give you a frontal view here. So this is my wide row. It's about 5 feet wide, I think. I don't even know how. I think it's a good 30 feet long. Shooting right on over to the back corner. It is a little shady back here, but it's what I have to work with. All right, today is planting day, and we have already planted tomatoes and bell peppers. I've already worked the soil with the homemade compost into it, and today I dug holes, added more of that compost mix, and a soil amendment. It's a soil conditioner, and I worked that into the soil. Added about a cup of pelletized dolomitic lime into each hole, as well as probably a good sized pinch of magnesium sulfate, and another soil amendment which I have on hand called Xsoil, which is chicken manure, composted chicken manure, and biochar infused into one prill, basically. So we have planted our pink brandywine tomatoes. I think there are 7 and 8 of the, I think they're called California Wonder Peppers. They're a sweet bell pepper. Next up, we are working on our bush beans and our straight neck squash. So I'll give you a little shot of that. Alright, here we go. These are heirloom straight neck squash, grown indoors. Bring them outside every now and again. But we're going to throw a few of these in the ground, what's left over. I'll put in styrofoam cups and eventually sell them. For those of you that don't know, this is called a Proplugger. It's used in the lawn and garden for different reasons. I've actually planted these Blue Lake 156 4 weeks ago today, and they're beyond ready to transplant. So check this out. Squash are planted, beans are planted, plenty of squash left over, and next is going to be okra. I think they were Clemson spineless okra. Clemson spineless. These were planted on 327 as well. I don't know if this is leggy or how it naturally grows, but it's been a while since I've grown okra. We're going to throw some of these in the ground. Hang on. Using the Proplugger tool, which works perfect for these 2-inch diameter seals that are about 2 inches deep. Alright, my wife and I just finished up in the garden. Once we got all the plants in, I took my leftover compost, as you can see the remnants of the pile back here, and we just used it like mulch between the plants, around the plants. And now she is taking the soaker hoses and running them down the row so we don't have to turn a sprinkler on all the time. I think it'll be a little more efficient, a little more upfront cost, but more efficient in the long run. Ease of use, that kind of thing. But there it is. Hope y'all have a great day.